It means the experts at AMCO stand behind their work.
You see what I mean? The halo, this is what it looks like. And all this. It's the truth. This is my friend Carolyn Levinson. She came all the way from Connecticut. She came all this way to see this exhibit that we had tonight, and she's leaving, unfortunately, tomorrow to go back to her studies.
These are my two favorite works. I'll start with Young Boy 2, and I just really like the face. I think the best things that you do are the ones that are multi-material, and I think the style of the eyes and the nose are wonderful. And the face reminds me of all the drawings and doodles you used to make. The other favorite that I have is The Chase, which I know is your new piece. And I particularly like the way the middle is one piece, and then you have the pieces attached for the arms and the legs. It reminds me of energy, and it makes me smile.
Old Red Eyes might have been overlooked, but he kind of follows you wherever you go. He's looking. And I don't know, he has a great look on his face. Sort of like he knows something, and he knows all about you. He'd be fun to have, I think, just to be walking around in your house and you know his stare would always be there. Dad, you did a great job, and I'm honored. This was a wonderful event, and people were laughing and talking and chattering in front of the sculptures. It was fun to be a spy and to walk behind people and listen to them talk and laugh and talk about your sculpture. So it was a great occasion. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Innocent Boy is one of my favorite pieces in the show. For me, it really expresses how I understand your art. And for me, I like the innocence of the piece, and I think that's what the title is sort of suggesting to me. And then there's a certain flair I like that, particularly with this hair kind of flung back, special piece.
Actually, check it out. Appeals to me. Daddy told me the story of how she got her name. He couldn't think of a name for this. He couldn't think of a name for this sculpture, so he went downstairs in the studio and he brought a woman up who owns perhaps, I don't know, some store underneath his, maybe a restaurant, and she came up and said, "Oh, I've got a name for it." Right away she looked at it and said, "Check it out." I think he has a certain swagger and a certain air. I would like to be in his company anytime. I like his style. I like his pizzazz. He just radiates charm.
I really like this piece because it reminds me of you. It's got the red hair, a little bit sharp, but with a good smile. Reminds me that you're witty, and it's a good piece from the original recycler.
Here I am standing with my friend, whom I first met about 5 years ago at a different show, but who spent a number of years in Hugh's living room, always making you feel welcome, and whenever you came in to have a glass of wine or simply to sit and talk. Actually, if we could turn him slightly sideways, his nose is, almost brought him right to you, is one of his finer characteristics. But I think he typifies many of the works that I enjoy that Hugh's done and that make it fun to be part of this family.
I wanted to highlight two pieces that I think need to be brought to light. And what I really appreciate about these two, one is called Ancient Figure and the other is Little Fellow, is any man who is able to go to a junkyard, take a piece of metal, attach it to a black base, and slap a price tag of $500 on it and call it art has got to be a genius. So these, while they're not my two favorite pieces, I wanted to highlight these two pieces. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight, which I know no other family members have, and I know Fa continues to make fun of himself for, are his paintings. Years ago, his paintings were less than perfect, and while they may not be there yet, they're certainly getting better. My favorite here is Man with Blue Ears. I think it's a fantastic piece. And at $850, I think it's time to start putting frames on them. But other than that, I think they're some of the most underappreciated things in the show. And I'm really happy we could be here with Fa and spend time with him.
If there's someone left to play the game, well, now rules are all right. If there's someone left to play the game, all my friends are going, and things just don't seem the same. Oh, things just don't seem the same, babe.
Close your head.
One thing I just learned about bad prom hair day or hairdo prom night is that it has dandruff when you get too close to it. But it also is a kind of hair that I can't identify with very closely, although my father promised me the first time we took a trip into Virginia, and he is a University of Virginia graduate and a Virginia native, that as soon as I stepped over the border, not only would I grow, but my hair would curl. And I am living proof that it is not true. But were I to go to a prom and have a hairdo, maybe I would someday do this. Yeah, and then you gotta get the hat.
I can't see that. You messing with me?
Just like this. John, just like this. Just like this. You're
He's got like a little flat on his head. See, what are these little things right here? Like little portholes where something would shoot out. That's right.
What's that?
What'd you say?
I said after traveling throughout all of Europe and Americas and seeing all the modern art, how it's contrived and not real, how this speaks for truth and reality.
I'm not considered a painter, and I really have no special skills, but I do like occasionally to put some paint on a canvas, and this was a early painting called Blue Man with Yellow Nose. And I liked him so much that I made another one that you can see over here at the end. It's called Red Man with a Yellow Nose. And the one in the middle, some years ago, I made a painting that was called Man with Blue Ears, and I gave it to my grandson, John Butch. And in my own mind, I thought maybe I could reproduce it, but this doesn't even look like the one I did. And it's very interesting, a funny face, and it made me feel very nice. Someone was asking me tonight why I put a white line around here. My only answer was it makes you look at it and ask me why I did it. And he said, well, why do you slant it? I said, for the same reason. But a painter told me that I did this wrong. She said if I painted this blue, it would have been much better because my eyes would have followed it up, and I think she is probably correct. This sculpture is called, I think it's called Check It Out. And I made the sculpture, and I didn't know what to call it. And there's a lady down in a business right below my studio downtown, and I asked her to come up in my studio, and I have a sculpture I wanted her to name. She walked in the door and said, check it out, it's obviously. And so I think it's a good name for it. This is an older sculpture. It was done in 1994, and it's called a greeting, and you have an arm holding up here and this red nose sticking out. It can be put on a wall if you take off the base, which is very simple, to 2 pieces of steel. I think one of the most interesting sculptures here is one called Don Showdog. Donald Follansbee I've worked with for many years, and over the years he's taught me a tremendous amount, and I've taught him to appreciate contemporary art. And he was out at the junkyard looking for some heavy aluminum to do some patchwork with on a boat, and he saw the man in a barrel had this piece of sculpture that he was about to put in the burning pot where they melt aluminum to make it into ingots. And he asked him to stop and let him have it, and we bored a hole in it and fixed him on a plate, and here he is, a beautiful sculpture of contemporary art. And this gentleman over here is called Man in a Red Vest. This is bent cold rolled steel, 1/2 inch, and he moves a little bit if you want him to move. And after I made him with these crossbars for his chest, he looked a little bare, so I put this grid on him and painted it red. These smaller sculptures over here, this is a head with 2 circles or brass. This is an antique sprinkler that I picked up in an antique shop. Sprinkle water on the lawn. This is a found object I altered just very little. It's called a dog. And this is called a little fella. This is just a joint that I picked up and put some screws in him, and it's just a simple sculpture. This is called a ancient figure, which I found also in an antique shop that I thought was very attractive. And this is called a young boy number 3. It's made of several pieces, and I think it's a very strong, small sculpture. This is called hairdo prom night hairdo, and this is aluminum filings from a drilling machine of aluminum on a aluminum base, and this reminds you sometimes of prom night is such an important thing in some young girl's life in high school, college, fraternity dances, etc. And I just thought it looked like something of this sort. This is called me because it has some red hair, but really what it is a part of an old sweeper machine that they used to have drawn by horses and later by automobiles to sweep the streets. And I just welded a face in here, and this is called me. This is a very strong sculpture, I think. It's called Man Walking, and it just says it by looking at it. And for some reason, this sculpture is called Blackbird with Red Ball, and this is an old-fashioned scythe people used to cut grass and wheat with, and I simply welded a red steel ball in. It's a very beautiful curved sculpture, I think, and quite attractive. This sculpture is surely Bad Hair Day, and every woman has had a bad hair day. And I took the copper wire and mixed it all up, and then I sprayed some adhesive on it and fixed these eyes up, and it's on a steel base, and this is a copper stand. This is removable. You can move it around and so forth like this. Very easy. Okay. This is a space figure, it's called. This is one of the few old pieces we have here, done in 1987. And it has a little action and reminds you of some of the things you see on television and things of this sort. And this piece of sculpture is a result of taking a piece of large copper pipe and hitting it, bending it here to a point, and then getting some pipe and bending the pipe and welding it on, and it's called Innocent Boy. It has an appearance to me of a young innocent boy. And this is kind of a fun figure. You'll recognize it as a toilet bowl, the old-fashioned piece of bowl that had to do with pressure. And I bored some holes for eyes and put a nose on, and it's called Egbert. This piece is, the base of this piece is what must have been a heat exchange base made of copper, and this is a pressure machine that I found and put a nose on it, bored some eyes, and this is called Young Boy. I think it's a very strong piece, and I think it's been bought by Dr. Matthew Ames and his wife. This is the chase. It's made out of brass. I made it this past year, and it moves a little bit if you want to move it. It's heavy brass, inch wide, quarter of inch thick, and it has a nice motion. And this was sold tonight to Dr. and Mrs. Daniel Conley, and it's on a piece of black granite. The sculptures are called the Redhead, and kind of a Picasso-looking thing, and the sculpture says it all, I think. I don't have to describe it. It's very, very pleasing as an artist to see so many people come to the show tonight, and I greatly appreciated it, as I said earlier. The thing that pleased me most, I suppose, is that as people seem to be laughing and smiling and talking to each other and seem to enjoy each piece, really. And I had a lady who was laughing a great deal at several pieces, and her comment to me was, Dr. Butt, I haven't felt this good in a year. And I simply told her this was the best medicine that any doctor could give her. It was delighted to see all these people smiling.